All right, today we're going to pop the hood on your brain. We're essentially getting the user's manual for your own mind, all thanks to the incredible work of Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. He figured out that two basic systems are driving pretty much every thought and decision you make. So let's start with a little test.
See, you didn't even have to think about it, did you? You just knew. Your brain instantly saw angry. You probably even had a flash of intuition that she's about to say something, well, not very nice, and probably pretty loudly. That immediate, effortless, automatic leap, that's what Kahneman calls fast thinking. Whoa, feel that? It's like your brain just slammed on the brakes. You know it's a multiplication problem, you know you could solve it, but you also know it would take some real concentrated effort. It's a completely different feeling, isn't it? This is what we call slow thinking. So these two totally different mental states, the quick glance and the tough calculation, they aren't just random. They're actually the work of two very different systems that are constantly running the show inside your head.
To keep things straightforward, Kahneman gave these systems some pretty simple names. He just calls them System 1 and System 2. You can think of them as the two main operating systems for your brain.
So System 1, that's your gut reaction. It's the part of you that sized up that angry face in less than a second. It's your intuition, your mental autopilot. It's always on, creating the impressions and feelings that sort of feed into your conscious thoughts and choices.
And then there is System 2. This is the conscious, deliberate you, the part of you that you identify as yourself. It's what has to kick into gear for that math problem. And get this, it's actual physical work. If we were monitoring you, we'd literally see your pupils dilate and your heart rate tick up as System 2 gets down to business. So how do these two work together? Well, a great way to picture it is like a movie with a hero and a sidekick. System 1 is really the star of the show, making all these quick judgments, while System 2 is the kind of lazy but super powerful supporting character.
And this contrast is everything. System 1 is the hero of our mental story because it's always on, effortlessly making sense of our world. It's what lets you drive down an empty road or understand a simple sentence without even trying. System 2, on the other hand, well, it's lazy. It only gets dragged into the action when things get tough, when something surprising happens, or when System 1 gets confused and calls for backup.
And here's maybe the most important thing to know about System 1. It operates on a principle Kahneman calls YZII. What you see is all there is. Basically, it grabs whatever information is right in front of it, spins the most believable story it can, and almost never stops to ask, hey, wait a minute, is there any important information that I'm missing here?
This brings us to one of the most famous and kind of mind-blowing experiments in psychology, the invisible gorilla. People are told to watch a video and count how many times a basketball is passed. It's a tough task, requires your full attention, it requires System 2. And because System 2 is working so hard, about half the people, 50%, completely miss a man in a full gorilla suit walking right through the middle of the scene. It's an incredible example of how, when we're focused, we can be blind to something that's right in front of our faces.
Okay, but this is where the plot thickens. System 1's obsession with speed and its need to create these neat, tidy stories means it makes mistakes. And not just random mistakes, but predictable, systematic errors. We call these cognitive biases.
You can think of cognitive biases as like glitches in your mental software. They are these consistent, predictable ways our brains tend to mess up. Kahneman's whole goal wasn't just to point them out, but to give us the words, the language, to actually identify them and talk about them.
Let's try one out for ourselves. Seriously, think about it for a second. Come up with a number. And hey, if you live with someone, a spouse or a roommate, go ask them the same question.
So here's what researchers found, and it's absolutely fascinating. When you add up the percentages from both people, the total almost always comes out to way more than 100%. Sometimes a lot more. Now, it's not because people are being dishonest or selfish. It's because there's a cognitive bias at work.
This is the availability heuristic in action. It's so easy for you to remember all the times you took out the trash or washed the dishes. Those memories are super available. Your partner's efforts, well, they're just not as easy for you to recall. So System 1 takes a shortcut and says, hey, if it's easy for me to remember, it must have happened more often. It's a simple little rule of thumb that leads to a very predictable error in judgment.
All right, I want to show you the most powerful demonstration of just how stubborn these System 1 intuitions can be. We're going to look at an illusion that your brain simply cannot shake, even when you know for a fact that it's an illusion.
Pretty obvious, right? Your System 1 is practically screaming at you. The bottom one is longer. Duh. It feels immediate, it feels certain, and it took zero effort to come to that conclusion.
But they're not different. They are identical. You could pull out a ruler right now and measure them. The stone-cold fact is they are exactly the same length. And yet,
And this just nails the central idea. Your rational system 2 now knows the truth. It believes the measurement. But you can't just turn off system 1. You will always see that bottom line as being longer. Your intuition is powerful, it's persistent, and it's not really under your voluntary control.
so here's the big takeaway. Just like our eyes can be fooled by visual illusions, our minds can be fooled by cognitive illusions. Our biases, like the availability heuristic we talked about, they work just like this optical illusion. Even when we learn about them, we can't just switch them off or decide not to feel their pull.
So if we're all walking around with these built-in mental glitches, what are we supposed to do? We can't just get rid of System 1, and we wouldn't want to. It's what keeps us alive. The real key is to learn to recognize its tricks so we know when to slow down and call in the heavy hitter, our more analytical System 2.
The solution isn't to try and out-muscle your own intuition. It's to get smarter about it. First, you learn the language. By giving a bias a name, like the availability heuristic, you make it a concrete thing you can look for. Then, you can start to recognize the patterns, both in your own thinking, and frankly, it's usually a lot easier to spot in other people's thinking.
And that really brings us to Kahneman's ultimate goal with all of this. He wants to improve the quality of our everyday conversations. You know, the gossip around the office water cooler. Because it is so much easier to spot someone else's biases than our own. And if we all share this vocabulary, we can kind of help each other notice these things and ultimately make better judgments.
So, let's end with a question to take with you. Your System 1 is an absolute machine for jumping to conclusions. It's been doing it all day long, making snap judgments, weaving little stories to make sense of the world. The challenge now is to simply start asking yourself, what conclusions did my mind jump to today, and were they right?